The bright side. As for myself, in late July, I had the pleasure of being told by my wife that she had fallen into another emotional affair. This is my second time down this road. The first time I uncovered the EA and brought it out into the open, back in 3 years ago. Right now, we are in the reconciliation mode. I guess that's what you call it. She cut off the other relationship and says that she wants to work on our marriage. I had actually considered just ending the marriage since this was the second time, but we never addressed the first EA appropriately, and it's never easy to end a relationship that has lasted over a decade and involves 2 young children. We are both seeing counselors individually but also seeing a therapist as a couple. As for me, I don't know how to feel. I go back and forth between wanting to work things out and have a stronger, healthier marriage, and then I just feel like getting out. There is a piece of me that just wonders if this is what I really deserve. A wife that has cheated on me twice. At the same time, I have starting to learn that it seems most relationships aren't the fairy tale vision that we all grew up thinking about. Would love to hear from some of you that have been there, done that. I feel like I am doing the right thing by trying to work this out, but the emotional roller coaster sucks. Do you ever get over the resentment? Counseling is going okay. The first sessions were tough, but that is because the OM was still in the picture. I made it clear during that session that I was not moving forward with anything if all contact was not cut off. Since the EA is over, counseling is going better, but we are still early into things. What is different now that it was before? Yes, in 2 ways. First, she said it was much different because they started out as friends and it grew into having feelings for each other. In my eyes, though, the emotional affair was very similar. The other way that it differed is that the first time, I was very much into saving my marriage and doing anything we needed to do to heal the wounds and make things better for her. This time around, though, my thoughts went immediately to separation and divorce. So, my emotional response was much different this time, probably because of this being the second time around. You said something that I have been feeling all along. She needs to respect me. This is one of the big things that bothers me. I can't believe that it happened once, much less a second time. Not only that, but the second one continued for a week or 2 after I found out. Her deciding what she wanted to do, etc. I mean, it was complete disrespect to me and our marriage. I really don't know that I will ever get over that. She is a selfish person, always has been. But in a marriage, you deal with the faults that your spouse has. However, an affair really makes you think about some of those issues more. Does her selfish personality make it almost impossible for her to do the things that will need to be done to help me heal? So here is the short version just to give you some backstory. 1. Emotional affair number 1, 2017, with her boss. I discovered it. 2. Emotional affair number 2, with a coworker. She told me about in July 2021. 3. After much reading and gaining knowledge over the past few weeks, I believe we carpet swept the first EA. 4. Since finding out about EA number 2, we have both been going to individual counseling and both committed to doing couples counseling. We have had 3 sessions so far. 5. 2 weeks ago I gave her the break it off with the OM or I am gone message, and she broke it off with him. He has supposedly crawled back to his wife after walking out on her. From what I can tell, there has been no further contact. This has been helped by the fact that he went on vacation for a week and then the next week my wife was on vacation. So, they have not been to work together for 2 weeks. That should be sufficient backstory. So here is my reason for posting today. After my wife cut off the other relationship and declared that she was sorry and has shown that she wants to reconcile. My initial feels were that I wanted to reconcile as well. We have been together for over 10 years and have 2 young children. For the most part, the marriage has been good but obviously not perfect. I started coming back out of my shell-shocked state and some feelings came back. I felt like we were starting to bond again, etc. The other day, however, I found myself not feeling that emotional bond again, almost as if I am just ready to move on without her as my wife. For those of you that have been through this, is this just a normal turn of events? Is this the way the reconciliation process goes? 1 week things start to feel good and then some weeks things don't feel right. I have listed out the boundaries that I expect from her. But of course, it is up to her to stay within those expectations. I think I could be more decisive and blunter when it comes to what I am thinking. I just don't see wife doing the heavy lifting. I mean, she will give me access to her email and phone, but going out of her way to encourage me, etc. I just don't see it. Who knows though? 1. There are problems in the relationship and thus repeated emotional affairs have happened. 2. Regardless of the problems in the relationship, there is no excuse for going outside of the boundaries of the relationship. 3. Is she simply flawed and will this pattern continue? She has shown pretty poor decision-making throughout her life. I do have fears that this crap will continue in some form. 4. Or maybe the first EA ending up being swept under the rug and the real problems never got addressed, thus leading to another EA. I will own up to having accountability for having a flawed relationship, not paying enough attention, but the affair is 100% her choice, both times. So that kind of leads to my problem, I guess. Either our relationship was flawed in some way or she is flawed in some way, or most likely in combination of A and B. And no matter what the answer is, how do I move past it? Even if I knew exactly what was wrong with our relationship and could fix it completely. I keep asking myself, do I want to continue on in a relationship with a person that has chosen to have an EA, not once but twice, not just cheating on me, but on her whole family? We have 2 young sons under the age of 7. What kind of a person can do this to their spouse, and do I want to continue my life with that kind of person? Very tough situation to try and figure out. I think about this constantly. Both times that my wife has had the EA, first was her boss, second time as a coworker. The methods have been cell phone calls, heavy cell phone text messaging, heavy emailing, and frequent one-on-one lunch dates. Some of these lunches were paid for by the other guy. Some of them were paid for by her. She even admitted to them riding in the same car together sometimes to go to lunch like this. The reason I bring the one-on-one lunches up is that when I mentioned this to a therapist before, I could tell that it took the therapist off guard. I guess the therapist imagined the emotional affair as only being through cell phone and internet. Or does the dating, as I like to call it, actually cross the lines of an emotional affair in your opinion? Comments. Seems unusual that a man would leave his wife and tell her of his love for another woman but still not sleep together. Usually, he would want to make sure that is in the bag before leaving another bed. Just throwing that out there. If you are going to D her, then keep her in her job, so you won't have to pay alimony. OP responds, I hear you on that one. That is the exact thing that I said. I mean, if it is true and it was only an emotional affair, it only proves how strong the fog is. You would give up your marriage, husband and 2 kids, and split up another marriage that includes 2 young kids. I mean, I would have at least tried to get sample before I bought the whole thing. On the other hand, these emotional affairs seem to cause people to do some really stupid things. So maybe they did go along with all this bull crap and not even do anything physical. This is one reason why I haven't pushed her to quit. I need her to have a job in the event that reconciliation does not work. I think she has started at least looking for other jobs though. The sad thing is that I only think she is doing that because she is embarrassed at what she has gotten herself into at work, and other people know, and her job is tough right now because they are short on staff. It has nothing to do with wanting to quit the job in order to show me she is serious about no contact. Yesterday didn't end up being much better for me. I swear, for 4-5 days, things really seemed to be moving in the right direction. I was starting to feel a bond again and was much more positive. And then, almost overnight, I started feeling such a strong resentment and unhappiness about what has went on. At this point, it is almost like I sit in the same room with her and I don't mind her being there. But I don't want to show her any affection, and I don't particularly want her to show me any affection either. So, it's not like I am outwardly lashing out and being angry. I think I am just simply emotionally cut off from her. I still have feelings, but they are more like the feelings I would have for a family member or a really good friend. One of the problems have been solved. The other man turned in his notice yesterday, so I don't have to worry about them working together anymore. The weird thing is that when she came home and told me, it didn't really matter to me. I guess that speaks to the mood I have been in over the past few days. The other relationship has gone to no contact. We are in counseling. She says she loves me and wants our marriage to work. And yet, I don't feel moved by any of it right now. I think this is why I had asked the question, has too much damage been done? And she has to get over herself in this situation too. I would think that if I was the one who cheated, and she was having a sad or depressed day, I would be doing everything I could to show my support, etc. During these past few days when I have been down, she has just asked questions like, you don't seem connected to me, why were you happy yesterday but not today, don't you feel happy that I ended it with the OM? I wonder if she gets it. I just want to say, hey you dumb X, you had an affair and I found out less than 2 months ago. Am I supposed to feel great right now? This after affair crap is tough. I have been pretty down for the past few days and today seems to be the worst. I have been reading the books, taking advice, going to individual and marriage counseling, etc. Over the past 45 days I have went from numb, shocked to resentful, to happier and hopeful, to angry and resentful, and now just plain old numb and sad again. I have started realizing that a big part of my failure in my marriage was my lack of clear and direct communication, because of the way that my wife reacts to stress and confrontation, passive-aggressive, won't speak for days, never really apologizes, etc. I basically have, for years, avoided conflict with her. Thus, I would internalize many of my feelings, and that probably led to a lot of resentment. That resentment, in turn, probably led to me not being the loving husband I could have been, and thus helped to create the environment that enabled 2 emotional affairs by my wife. So, this leads me to 2 things. 1, I have to start saying what I want to say and then deal with whatever outcome happens, good or bad. In other words, I need to have the courage to stand there, say what I believe, and take the result, which might be unpleasant or might be productive. 2. My wife has always been selfish. It is probably her one major character flaw. That selfishness is probably at the center of many of our problems. Her selfishness and the way that I have dealt with it. So, today in counseling, I want to call her out on it, but I am not sure how. Do I just say, I think you are a selfish person? I want to speak my mind, but I don't want to sound like I am attacking her. 1. This will actually be our third session for any of you that thought it was our first. Sorry if I was not clear. 2. The MC really has talked much about my recovery from the affair, which I think is a big thing, because even if we identify what created the environment, we can't fix it while I am still recovering from my wife's second EA. 3. Some of you have given me some good ways of saying without being too harsh, but I am not sure. For example, Tall Average Guy had a good idea by saying I feel like my needs are not important as opposed to you only care about your needs. My wife will hear that and understand what I am saying. But will she understand that I am saying you are selfish and have been for years? On one hand, I think if I hold anything back during these sessions, I am defeating the purpose. Likewise, if I am too bold, and I am afraid of unintentionally sinking the whole thing. I have said multiple times to her that she chose to have the EA if she would have taken all of that energy that she put into the emotional affairs and simply came to me to let me know the problems. We would have been in a very different place right now. What I do accept though is that I have responsible for helping to create an environment that may have promoted some of these problems. Also, I actually talked to the other man's wife last night. She said they were doing much better, but he was still not living back at home. Essentially, they go out together on the weekends for now, almost like they are dating again. Anyway, she mentioned that they started and completed their MC. It shocked me because they did 4 visits and that was it. In 4 visits I don't even think we have gotten to very far at all. 1 month post D-Day. My biggest problem with her thinking the world should revolve around her needs. Here is an example. Am I just blowing this up into something bigger? So, I was telling my therapist about how I am still confused after my wife's EA and how I understand that some couples just separate in order to get their thoughts together. He mentioned, why not separate on a small scale? Take a short trip just by yourself, stay at a hotel for a few days, etc. Immediately I thought of something that I had been wanting to do for a year or two. I have been wanting to go up to my hometown, less than 2 hours away, but haven't had a reason to go in about 7 to 8 years. I wanted to go and take some pictures of my old school, old house, etc. I could leave on a Saturday morning and come back Sunday morning. Just do some sightseeing and reminiscing. I mentioned it to my wife this morning, after a weekend of great communication and normalcy. Her response, so, you want to do this without me? I explained that the whole idea was for me to take some time to clear my head and think, to help make me better so that I can help our relationship. Her response, yeah, but the weekends are the only time we can spend time together. So, I just dropped it. I am hurt because I tried to explain an idea that I really liked, something that I thought would really help me. The one that got cheated on, and in return help our relationship, and the first thing I hear is without me. Then her second statement all but makes feel guilty for even thinking about taking away from our time. My comment, the whole time I was working on this, I was thinking OP's wife is in the driver's seat. OP is just in the back seat. If he doesn't take the driving seat, soon he will fall out of the relationship. 1 affair, shame on your partner. 2 affairs, shame on you. Story 2. Me and my hubby have been together 11 years, and for the first 8 years it was fantastic. Slowly my husband's drinking and meds began to become a problem, and the past 2 years have been ruled by his addiction, and our marriage has taken a huge battering. Just under 6 months ago I reached my breaking point and I asked him to leave. He went off the rails for a few weeks, then booked himself into rehab and has stopped the drink and drugs and is doing well with that. When he came out of rehab around 3 months ago, he begged me for another chance. At the time I was so angry, hurt, scared, upset that I didn't feel like I loved him anymore and just wanted to move on, but I agreed to allow him to prove himself and that we could see what happened because he said he loved me so much and didn't want to lose his family or his marriage. I said that I would not commit until I was satisfied. He meant what he said, and so he put a lot of effort in. We've got 2 children, so we were focusing on being parents to them and working through some of the issues and things that had happened before he went into rehab. We spent a little time together, but not really as a couple and more as friends. Around a month ago I began to feel happier and my feelings for him began to surface again because I was able to forgive him somewhat for what had happened in the past. I didn't tell him as I wanted to be sure that it was what I wanted first. A couple of weeks ago he told me he loves me as a person and as the kid's mom, but something is missing and he can't be with me right now as he needs to stand on his own 2 feet and prove to himself that he's capable of being responsible for the first time in his life. I'm devastated. I can see the love in his eyes and how he acts around me, so I believe that it's there, but he's just not ready to be in a relationship right now. He said he doesn't know what will happen in the future, but right now he wants to be on his own. It's frustrating cause of course something is missing as we're not actually together. He suffers with mental health problems which he's currently under a psychiatrist for. He's not been diagnosed as yet though. He has trouble with feeling emotions and knowing what they are and tends to be in his head a lot thinking about the what-ifs and future instead of living in the moment, and I think is having a huge impact on how he feels. I'm 100% certain that 3 months ago when he came out of rehab, he loved me with all his heart, and I can't understand how that love can just disappear. He's struggling with the guilt of what he's put me and the kids through during his darkest days of addiction, and I wonder if that's having some influence on it all. I know that I have to let him have this space as otherwise it would have caused problems for us both anyway, so I know this had to happen. I'm terrified that he will realize how he feels too late when I've had enough of waiting and moved on. I really do love him and know we can have a good future together, but I also know that he has to want that too. We have an amazing connection. We get on so well and make such a good team. I can't just throw that away as I know we have something special that's worth fighting for. I have asked him if there's anyone else and he's definite there isn't at the moment, and he just need to be on his own, although I think he may be open to someone else if they come along. He claims he doesn't love me in the way that he should and that he loves me as the kid's mom and a person, but not like he should as a wife. Knowing what he's like, he could just be suppressing those feelings as he likes the idea of being free more. I'm broken, hurting so badly. It cuts so deep to know that he doesn't love me anymore. He's my world and I truly believe us could be happy again. It's just that he doesn't want to be. Yes, he's clean and sober now. He gets tested at the center he's volunteering at. I did build up a wall. He told me to keep him at arm's length until he'd proven himself to me that he's a changed man. I suppose I should have told him my feelings for him were coming back. I planned to tell him the day he said he wanted to be on his own. He's got very low self-esteem and carries a lot of guilt for what he's put me and the kids through. He seems to believe that he doesn't deserve to be loved or have a family because of what he's done in the past. He also has mental health problems which seriously affect his emotions, and he tends to have none at times. He's suspected bipolar and under investigation. He's doing NA and working through his steps. He said he just knows that right now he can't be with me and doesn't feel the love he should for me. He said he cares for me deeply and doesn't want to hurt me, but it's something he needs to do. I understand this. I really do. I have told him I won't hang around on the sidelines, but if he does want to work through some things in the future, then I'm willing to consider it. He knows I love him and would love us to build a future together. Weeks later, since I backed off and have given him space, he's initiating a lot of talk about things in general and is much more friendly and open. Not so much the future but about our current situation. Since doing the 180, he seems to have noticed that I'm moving forward and learning from the experience. I'm no longer a crying wreck, and although I do cry when alone, I show I'm strong and confident to him. I've also made clear that I know I will be okay without him and can find happiness, but I would prefer that to be with him. My question is this: we work together so have regular contact. I try to keep this initiated by him, which is a lot, and also see each other because of the kids. In the past week he's been asking to spend more time in the family home with us, sleeping on the sofa to get up in the AM with the kids, meaning he spends time with me in the evening, and has asked can we go for a family meal as my daughter asked him, us and kids, and would I like to join them swimming next week as it's good for the kids. I'm so unsure of how to handle it as I want to spend positive time to show him we are a good team and that it's not all bad. Remind him of the positives, but I don't want him taking me for a mug either, as right now he's sat on the fence and making no commitments for the future. We've both been working on communicating better, with help from counseling, and although he doesn't want to work on us as a relationship for the foreseeable, he's happy to move forward with that side of things for the kids' sake. We've both agreed for now we can't be together. Let's just try to move ourselves forwards and not think too far into the future right now. Days later, he's rung my mobile 3 times and house phone 3 times this morning, then sent a text, all as soon as he woke. I answered his 7th call, and when he asked why I wasn't answering, I said, you made the decision, you don't want me in your life anymore. I respect that, and so I'm leaving you to get on with your life and I'm getting on with mine. I don't see the need in several calls every day. We aren't together anymore and I'd prefer if you text rather than ring, please. It's nothing personal, I just don't have much to say to you at the moment. He apologized and went really quiet and sad for the rest of the call. I kept upbeat and strong. Update: he slept with Theo over the weekend, he confessed. I kind of knew it was coming and knew it was something he would do as part of him finding himself and what he wants. He said he thought it would make him feel better, but if anything, it's made him feel worse. He cried. He broke down several times. He said he's glad I know because now he can be open with me and not have to hide his real feelings. He said it's made him feel closer to me. He admitted that he's been having doubts about the separation and that he's been too afraid to face up to his feelings. I'm surprisingly calm. Maybe the calm before the storm, or maybe just because I was expecting it. Heartbroken, feel like I may fall apart at any moment. I've been a complete fool and fallen for his crap. He opened up and showed his real emotion, and it was so nice to feel that connection again, but I should know by now that he soon shuts back down and goes cold again. I've been such an idiot. I'm so angry at myself for letting him suck me in. I really can't do this anymore. I can't allow him to play with my feelings and emotions any longer. I have to put a stop to this, and I have to be strong. I've lost 40 pounds, which has made me feel so much better. However, I'm struggling to eat still and still losing. Anxiety and eating don't go together for me either. It's making me feel weak and poorly, though, so need to get it addressed. A week later, I have the D papers ready to be filled in and signed, but I'm still very unsure if it's what I want to do. I don't want to be with my H now at all, and not for the foreseeable future. He has so many issues and problems to resolve that he's just not a good person to have in my life. I also need to work on my own issues and find myself again. I want to be on my own and take some time to focus on me. And the kids, obviously. I'm selling our house and getting my own place, and want to do all that before even thinking about relationships. I have a feeling that later down the line, when he's resolved some of his issues, resentments, and I'm in a better place, then we may come back together. We have both agreed that this is a likely possibility, but of course never know what the future holds. My H has never asked for D or even mentioned it. I went down that route as I felt he'd left me no choice. So, my question is this: do I file for D anyway, even though I'm not sure it's what I want? Or do I delay it but risk him thinking I'm waiting around for him? I know D can be stopped if things change, but I'm just moving one step closer and sealing the deal, so to speak. He's just called round and we sat and talked for ages. He's been very honest and said he's really feeling it now and is struggling. He said his respect for me is coming back and that his resentments are less than they were, but he's carrying so much guilt from what he's put me through. And the kids during addiction, and thinks that's playing a big part in it. He said he's not fit to be in a relationship, and that although he misses his family very much, he doesn't feel able to commit to us right now. He listened to me and was in tears at how much he's hurt me. He apologized lots for hurting me and his behavior. I'm just glad he's being open. Past few weeks he's really opened up when I've seen him, off his own back, and wanted to talk about everything instead of blocking it out and shutting down. I miss him a lot, but I've let him go because I know I have to. If he comes back, then at least that's because he wants to, and if not, then I hope we'll both somehow be happy. I have absolutely no intention of letting H back into my life at the moment. It's not an option. I need to get myself into a good place and deal with some of my own issues before I even contemplate a relationship with anyone. Me and my H are both in recovery in a lot of sense. We are both healing from the destruction addiction has caused, and both hopefully moving to better places regardless of our marriage. I just don't like being jumped on if what I choose isn't what the majority would choose. It's as though because I haven't instantly filed for D, I'm a mug and letting him walk all over me. It's absolutely not like that at all. 3 months later, my STBX can't come soon enough. Wants our children to meet his new GF as his friend. He's been seeing her around 4 weeks and met her online, so it's very early in the R. However, it's been very intense, and they've moved very quick, so he seems to think it's the right time. I've said no. I've told him I think it's too soon, but he isn't happy about this. Any advice? They're only 4 and 6, so quite young. Yes, it's bizarre the speed they're moving, but they're both, from what I've gathered about her, very insecure, needy and immature people, so they're a match made in heaven, until it all goes wrong. Don't get me wrong, I hope they're happy and it is a long-term thing, but I can't see it. There are so many red flags, but it isn't my place to judge, obviously. I think he'll respect my view for the moment, but don't think he will for long. He keeps bringing it up. Part of me wonders if having 2 parents at loggerheads and arguing over this is actually more detrimental than them meeting her and us getting along. The old saying, choose your battles wisely, comes to mind. We don't have a separation agreement. Days later, my D is final in around 8 weeks, and I'm happier than I've been in a long time. Best decision I ever made, and I've done a lot of healing, soul searching, and work on myself in the past 6 MTHS, and I'm in a much better place now. My life is good. I'm very lucky, and I'm thankful for the positives every day. My kids are well adjusted and seem to have settled into the new routines, which I'm relieved about. They're happier because Mummy and Daddy are happier. Comment: maybe this is one of the better separation endings out there. What do you think? Comment down. I will prepare more for tomorrow.